Fine, then let's get started now. And I hope you have your textbooks with you. I want you to have your human geography textbook. ये जो edition 5 है, इसको रखो अपने साथ में. And I also want you to have your geographical thought दीक्षित वाला किताब, वो भी रख लो आप. And I will tell you the page numbers of oceanography also. Human Geography by Majid Hussain, Oceanography Savindra Singh, and also your Geographical Thought by Dikshit. Geographical Thought by Dikshit. यही topics आपके बचे हुए हैं, and I'll try finishing those topics. So the question that we left yesterday was 4B, discuss the approaches to a study of behavioral geography. Discuss the approaches to the study of behavioral geography. Okay, now I think if I look back, this question should have been framed in a different way. Okay, this framing is not the best framing. It should have been what are the approaches, okay, of study in behavioral revolution hona chahiye tha. And then the answer would have been the behavioral geography and humanistic geography. So in this question, theek hai, okay, it could have been framed better. But for this question, in that case, you must talk about three things. Talk about what is behavioral geography, okay, as a part of behavioral approach, a small discussion there. Then the approaches include the methods in behavioral geography. The methods include what? Mental maps. The method includes, and these methods likhna padega, that these methods are based on certain approaches. What I was saying is, when we say behavioral revolution, the behavioral revolution has two approaches, the behavioral geography and humanistic geography. Ab maine kya kiya hai, I think I said it is not the best way of framing the question. What we have done is we have asked you about what are the approaches in behavioral geography. So now we are trying to improvise this answer. कि ये वाला part भी रहे, okay, and plus under behavioral geography भी रहे. That's my idea. So you can start the answer by introducing what is behavioral geography. Okay, start with that. And you can have a small definition type or explanation type. Talk about the works of Julian Wolpert. Talk about the works of Julian Wolpert. Talk about the works of Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon's Satisficer model. Talk about Herbert Simon's Satisficer model. Okay, you can start the answer with this, and then you can talk about the different methods in behavioral geography. Unlike question pucha hai, what are the different approaches, but I'm modifying that. There are different methods or techniques in behavioral geography. So what are the techniques? One is the use of mental maps. Ek mental maps hai. Second is the behavioral matrix. Mental maps, behavioral matrix. And the third is the stochastic methods. Stochastic methods where we will have those simulation techniques. Okay. Now, ये जो mental maps है and the matrix है, the approach is based on using the concepts of cognitive sciences, where we are trying to map the brain. यहाँ पर क्या कर रहे हैं? We are trying to map the process of decision making. We're trying to map the process of decision making. Okay. And stochastic model mein kya hai? The approach is based on using the principles of probability so that we can arrive at what is the best way of decision making. So this is one discussion. Having said this, then you can move towards that behavioral geography is part of behavioral revolution, and then talk about that there are two approaches in behavioral revolution. You can write a bit about humanistic and write a bit about the methods here, and do mention how behavioral geography was essentially the extension of positivism. So we are trying to, I said, no, we are trying to improvise this now. हाँ, तो humanistic को last में रखना. Don't miss it out entirely. Keep it in the last. Do discuss. Yes, there is another approach also in behavioral called as humanistic geography. Okay, maybe 4 or 5 lines on this. And when you are concluding the answer, now you can say that geography is more synthetic. It is influenced by humanistic and also some of the works of the traditional behavioral geography. You summarize the answer on the lines of saying geography is more synthetic in nature. Okay, so that way, if an examiner is looking at this, okay, that's also okay. If he's looking at the method, even that is okay. I mean, that is what I was seeing in the answer also. We have done the same thing. In the answer also, we have done exactly the same thing because there was a debate on what should be the best answer to this one. I'll just show that to you. Okay. Discuss the approaches to behavioral geography. So we started with behavioralism in geography. Okay, the idea of perception, the idea of phenomena, pneumona, cultural determinism, Carl Sauer. If you remember, fine, or you can keep it straight and simple. You don't have to do too much of this. ये हमने किताब से उठाया है, nothing big deal here. Okay, and then what are the different methods? We have mental maps, we have got behavioral matrix, we have the game theory, stochastic theory. So this was in the first phase where the focus was on developing patterns, and second was on studying the understanding of how we do. Okay, and of course, do mention that late behavioral geography में time geography also is actually an extension of the time geography जो है, this could be part of your write-up here. The time geography, time-space geography of Hagerstand, this is including both the concepts, behavioral geography along with the humanistic aspect. Okay, then approach में, the behavioral geography is more of an inductive approach. It's more of an inductive approach where every instance is studied and then you are making laws. In induction, inductive method, what we do is every particular point is studies, every particular aspect is studies, and then you make a law. Deductive में reverse होता है. You first make a law and then you go into the specifics. It's inductive in that ways. It's an approach that we have. And then we're talking about they use statistical techniques also. Okay, a bit of write-up on what are mental maps. This is a type of a structural approach. Behavioral matrix पे, okay, one diagram is here on the matrix. Okay, and then in general, we also have discussed a bit about the humanistic geography, the approach of behavioral geography in the later phase. Okay, so ये approach के अंदर ऐसे लिखकर we have written something about humanistic geography. Okay, so more or less, this last page becomes a conclusion, and you can say behavioral geography couldn't be one of the behavioralists chosen, more observation, participant, geographical transformation. Essentially, geography is more synthetic in nature. On those lines, you can leave it. So, आपको learning could be this one, this could be an additional one. Okay, ये वाला concept जो है, the behavioral geography. In fact, this was one change. Why? Because we have moved from the general laws towards the specifics of man. So that ways, it is an inductive method aimed to build general statements, an idea borrowed from positivism. So this could be an addition in your answer. Otherwise, keep the structure that we discussed. Two geographers, Wolpert. Wolpert is the man who introduced behavioral geography. And we have the works of Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon was an economist. His ideas of satisficing models have been used in geography. So अगर आप कुछ देखना चाहो, पढ़ना चाहो, let me give you the page number here. So ये दो page is fair enough. Page number, okay. Page number 147, page number 147 and 148 in this textbook, Dikshit Wala. Page 147, it has something about the perceived reality and the rest. Okay, up page 47 देखो, look at the top line. Rejection of concept of, are you all with me? Okay, so page 147, we all have this textbook. I do not know the page number in the old edition. Old edition में क्या page number है? Can somebody tell me? I've stopped using the book entirely. In the old edition, what page? Chapter number 6 है. Chapter 6, second page होगा शायद. Does anybody know the page number? Nobody. Okay, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. This is page 147, 135. Okay. 135 देख लेना. Okay, so I'm reading the first line. Okay, it says, thus alongside the rejection of the concept of strict operation of the principle of economic rationality, there was a perceptible shift from deductive to inductive mode. a shift from deductive to inductive mode. Inductive, I said, where you study the particulars and then you go for the specific generalization. Another significant development was increasing number of geographers are now beginning to feel convinced that the deeper understanding of man-environment interaction could be achieved if geographers paid attention to the study of mental maps. So mental maps becomes a part of the methods. Inductive approach, okay, mental maps approach, and the decision maker's environment. Okay, this is one discussion. Okay, and the next page page number 145, 48 a bit of history is given. Okay, behavioral geography, what is the history? So ये दो पेज पढ़ लेना, will give you a fair idea. ठीक है? So more or less this is done. What are the approaches to behavioral geography? Now directly I'm coming to section B. Can we move on now? Come to section B, 5C. Elaborate the concept of compage. Elaborate the concept of compage. So compage concept was given by who? Who gave the concept of compage? Anybody knows? And what is compage? Compage was given by Whittlesey. Yes, it was given by Whittlesey. And what is the idea of compage? Okay, compage, in other word, it also means total region. Yes, total region. Now, based on the study in South Africa, Rhodesia, that is studying parts of Zimbabwe. Okay, he talked about the concept of African compage. Now, let me explain this. See, there was this debate. The one debate in geography was always about that geography, whether it should be physical geography or human geography. And this debate gradually started getting diluted, not much of an issue. And scholars said geography must study both physical and the human aspects. Okay, so geography has now become synthetic in that sense. Now, when the concept of region started, when we started demarcating regions are what? The segment of space. So when we decided to demarcate regions, one of the type of regions that Whittlesey talked about was the regions which were uniform regions which were homogeneous regions. Okay? In homogeneous regions, what do? We talk about only one element: rainfall regions, soil regions, all the areas of maybe alluvial soil, all the areas of evergreen forest, all the areas rainfall more than 200 centimeters. So you tell me one thing, that when we talk about homogeneous or uniform regions, is it possible to have more than one element, together when demarcating a uniform region? Yes or no? Is it possible to have more than one element when we demarcate a uniform region? So I'm looking at homogeneity. At the face of it, it looks like it is not possible. The face of it looks like कि आप अगर homogeneous regions करोगे, you can only use one element. But then Whittlesey से ऐसा भी नहीं है. When we say homogeneous regions, there could be different type of elements, but the combinations can be always different. Yes, so I can have a region which is based on, say, rainfall and vegetation relationships, where everywhere rainfall is more than 200 and vegetation is probably the tropical rainforests. Every place where the rainfall is 100 centimeters and there are sal forests. So it's possible to have more than one elements, they combine together to give us some kind of homogeneous pattern. I hope you got the point here. Okay, so the initial debate that homogeneous regions will have only one factor, that's not necessary. Think of, I talk about all the areas which have HDI more than 0.8. It looks like homogeneous region or not? All the areas which have HDI more than 0.8. ये homogeneous होगा कि नहीं होगा? Yes. Okay, but you understand that this HDI 0.8 has income, it has education, it also has health aspects. Okay, so is it actually a single element? It is not. It is now, it's now a multi-element but homogeneous regions. Now the concept of compage is something like that it is actually an example of a homogeneous region, A homogeneous region where the combination of the physical and the human element is such that there is a type of a uniform pattern in the man-environment relationships. Am I able to communicate what I want to tell you? So आपको चार चीज याद रखना है. What is compage? Write down now. What is compage? Compage is a concept of total regions. A region that includes, compage is what? Compage is a concept of total regions. Okay, what is it? A total region that includes the totality of natural and man-made features. Totality of natural and man-made features in human occupants. The totality of natural and man-made features in human occupants. That's one point. Second point is that the concept was given by Whittlesey. The concept was given by Whittlesey. ठीक है? Third, compage, okay, is a concept or an example of a uniform region. It is an example of a uniform region. A uniform region, but defined in more than one features. The type of uniform region is a type of a homogeneous region, but defined with more than one elements, defined with more than one features, more than one features. And the fourth aspect is that compage is an example of, how a region is synthetic in nature. How a region is synthetic in nature. It combines both. It combines the human elements, it combines natural aspects, it combines climate, it combines vegetation, it combines human activities. Okay? An example of how a region can be synthetic. It combines the human elements, it combines vegetation, climate, and human activities. This concept was given in, I think, 1960s में दिया गया था. Most of the works of Whittlesey is in 50s and 60s. Sequent occupants is the process. Sequent occupants is the process. But what is created is, no, not necessarily man is dominating. कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है. Okay. कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है that man is dominant. It's about the man-environment relationships. Yes. And you can end the answer towards that this is a concept which has been inspired by Karl Sauer's cultural landscape. Yes. Don't say Lebensraum, but cultural landscape. An idea which has been influenced by Karl Sauer's cultural landscape. Okay. So now you can open up your page, your Dikshit textbook. Yes, sequent occupants में है, but compage में time is not mentioned obviously. Now open up your textbook, please. Textbook Dikshit wala, page number 206. I do not know what's the page in the old edition. This is a chapter called Regional Concept. Chapter number 8 hai. There is a write-up called as compage, a kind of uniform region. Page 183. Okay, page 183. Okay. So in a paper entitled Southern Rhodesia, anybody knows what is Rhodesia? 183, 190 क्या है? 190 में ये है. Okay. 183 is where the chapter starts. 190, okay. Zimbabwe, yes. Rhodesia is Zimbabwe. Yes, Southern Rhodesia. Whittlesey put forward, the 50s and 60s बताया था, he put forward the idea of compage, a type of a uniform region. This is the idea. It's a type of a uniform region defined in terms of all the features, natural and man-made, that are related to human occupants of an area. Wherever all the interaction has happened, okay, related to the human occupants of an area. This represented an important conceptual progress in the regional geography. It's a very important development in regional geography. It says Minshall wrote that those who suggest the study of specific regions is beyond the powers of one man, may be well ill-defined topic regions. The fact is the more successful regional geographers have been concerned with what Whittlesey named as compage. So compage essentially is the totality of man and human, and very importantly, it is a type of uniform region. Even if it talks about the homogeneity is not on the basis of any one single element. It's about many elements combining together to give the region its identity. Okay? So compage, now you can write this point down, that compage is an example of regional synthesis. Okay, that this is where you can end the answer. Compage is an example of regional synthesis. Systematic geography by nature is analytical. Regional geography by nature is more synthetic of physical and human aspects, synthetic in terms of multivariate elements put together. Okay, so compage is an example of the synthetic approach of regional geography. So 10 mark का है, एक पेज में लिख देना. This is good enough. What is compage? Okay, yesterday I was struggling to give you the page number of what are estuaries. Now in your oceanography textbook, you can look up page number 350. Okay, so I think estuaries पढ़ लेना please. Okay, so I think you should do estuaries. Okay, and what are the types of estuaries? We have got coastal plain estuaries, fjord estuaries, bar built estuaries, and tectonic. Tectonic यहाँ पर submergence हो गया है. Okay, bar where the water body has now been enclosed by a depositional feature. Fjord, you understand fjord, and coastal plains, a regular river which has been submerged. Okay, so isko dekh lena what the features, and do remember that these estuaries are areas of very high productivity. The primary productivity is more than 15 to 20 grams per meter square per year, per day. So very high primary productivity regions. So look up something from this. That was the intention of asking you this question. Okay, what are estuaries, and discuss the types of estuaries is 351 and 354. 351 and 354, that's good enough. At the page number 357 खोल लो, a small write-up on what is the biological importance of estuaries. The species types, it talks about the high range of tidal regions, okay? So the phytoplankton, so estuaries को थोड़ा देख लेना. And even if they don't ask you directly, if they ask you the importance of coastal management, they ask you the importance of coastline development, then do mention something on estuaries. Okay, so I think in that sense, this could be important. Okay, let's move on. Question number 6A. Examine how Chabahar port development can lead to regional development in South Asia and Central Asian region. Are you all with me? Question number 6A. How Chabahar port development can lead to regional development in South Asia and Central Asian region. Now, see, this type of questions, current affair based hai. I'm sure you know the facts where Chabahar port is. You have got Dharanj, Dilaram. I think you know those places जहाँ से आपका link है. काफी debate में आ चुका है because apparently Iran has now cancelled, or at least it has stalled India's work there. Okay, are you aware of this latest development? Yes, Dharanj, Dilaram, and Zehadan. Okay, so even if this is not asked, now see, when we ask you, okay, a regional development, what are, देखो एक तो है, what are the principles of regional development. Yeah, Chinese bought it. ठीक है. Now see, let's get back to. एक तो है, what are the principle of regional development? That is one discussion. The second is, what are the advantages of regional development? And third is, what are the factors that help development of a region? ये तीन अलग point हैं. One is, what are the principles of regional development? The principle includes horizontal unity, lot of varied aspects must come together, vertical unity, at different scales we should be unifying, okay. Principle of public participation, local people should participate. Principle of time-space continuum, what's relevant today should also be relevant in the future and for that region. Principle of financial viability. There is principle of environmental sustainability. I hope you know these points, all of you. ये पता है points आपको? लिख लो, अगर नहीं पता है तो लिख लो. It's there in your Indian geography खुल्लर में है वो topic. Okay, horizontal unity, vertical unity, environmental sustainability, public participation, financial viability, time-space continuum. Time-space. It basically means that whatever development we do should be relevant to different generations and should also be relevant to the entire region. ऐसा ना हो कि एक region के एक ही part में development हो रहा है, दूसरे part में नहीं हो रहा है. The space continuum होना चाहिए. And time continuum. Today's development should also mean tomorrow's development, should also mean day after tomorrow's development. In development, the past element should also be considered. That's the meaning of time-space continuum. And development should be comprehensive, yes. Comprehensive का मतलब है all people, okay, should include education, health, economy, everything. So it should be comprehensive. ठीक है? Yeah, inclusive is part of your public participation. Inclusive. ये पता है आपको. Now, what are the important objectives? ये आपके principles में आ गया. Then I'm saying that what are the elements important in regional development? What are the elements, okay, important in regional development? In a regional development, very important elements is there should be trade. Okay, अगर trade नहीं हो रहा है, okay, basic activities with non-basic activities, okay, export import नहीं हो रहा है, region का development मुश्किल है. There should be some kind of trade, and for trade there must be gateways. A place like ports होना चाहिए, airport होना चाहिए. There is some kind of a major transport hub. So for trade, we need transport. That's a very important element of requirement of regional development. It's very important that the region should also be cohesive. It should be cohesive. Cohesive, ताकि conflicts come हो. And cohesiveness generally is an element of both political aspect and also an element of cultural aspects. There should be some kind of ethnic, racial or cultural identity that keeps the region internally cohesive. ये बहुत important part of regional development है. Yes, so you can add social capital here. The second very important aspect of regional development is that the region should also try to address problems related to disasters. Okay, हर region का कुछ ना कुछ disaster vulnerability है. Okay, there is some vulnerability, floods ho, droughts ho, they should be able to, and in today's time, even the economic disasters are part of the problem. Okay, they should be able to manage disasters. Then another very important aspect is for regional development, there should be, okay, there should, yes, accessibility पहला वाला point आ गया. Trade होना चाहिए with a gateway, okay, which is roads, transport, ports. बता दिया मैंने accessibility प्रवीण, वो हो गया. Accessibility, internal cohesiveness, There must be some kind of disaster management or disaster solutions also. Okay, it must also have, okay, the ability to deal with, okay, जो हम बोलते हैं resilience है, to deal with, okay, downturns, economic हो, whatever, is a part of a disaster management more or less. और एक term बोलते हैं that the region should also have complementarity. अगर complementarity होगा, you can always be able to support one another. If there is too much of competition within the system, the region cannot develop. It needs complementarity. Okay, so now come back here. ये concepts हैं आपके. ये concepts हैं. Now come back here. Is asking us, how does Chabahar Port lead to regional development in South Asia and Central Asian region? Okay. Now tell us, when I say Chabahar Port का मतलब है three things. Chabahar Port is an important transport gateway. Chabahar Port also means roadways and railways. And Chabahar Port is also a type of, okay, link of South Asia with Middle East and with Central Asia. ये तीन aspect. It itself is a port, plus the entire network of railways and roadways, plus there's a kind of a trade economic linkage of South Asia, okay, Iran and Central Asia. Okay? Now what does Chabahar Port do? Chabahar Port, 5 things it can do. Number 1, Chabahar Port can leverage the complementarity of the 3 regions, South Asia, Central Asia and Middle East. Why do we see complementarity? Because these 3 regions have different set of advantages. Okay, South Asia is textile, South Asia is agriculture. Okay, South Asia has the advantage of labor arbitrage. South Asia. Iran, okay, it has the advantage of oil. Iran, okay, its own cultural products. And Central Asia, maybe oil hai, fertilizers hai, uranium hai. So these 3 areas are dealing with 3 different type of products. There can be complementarity, and Chabahar Port, along with the link, talking about Dilaram and Zaranj, okay, it is able to give us that link. So it accentuates, leverages the complementarity. That is one. Okay. Number 2, Chabahar Port is a very important gateway for Central Asia. Gateway for Central Asia, and a very important way of accessing, Central Asia for Southeast Asia, for South Asia. Okay, remember trade wala point is a point where we can access. Okay, जब भी trade हो पाए, so complementarity is one. Second is that. Third aspect, the Chabahar Port is a very important instrument. Yes, complementarity, agriculture, cereal, fruits, nuts, go on there. Yes, India ka textile, agriculture, crops. Yes. The third thing is the Chabahar Port is also an element in the cultural and the ethnic interaction because there are commonalities. Okay, Afghanistan, okay, culture, Iranian, Persian culture, there are commonalities in religion, there are commonalities in racial stock, okay, along with India, which also has a sizable, okay, cultural relationship. And here you can refer to the past Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization may be Iran, okay, Badakhshan, Iran, Persia, and Harappa. They have known to trade with one another. There is some kind of a cultural continuity, okay, which Chabahar Port can establish. And the fourth thing is, yes, okay, Chabahar Port also helps in bypassing, yes, sort of, correct. Chabahar Port helps in bypassing the conflict region of Pakistan and Baluchistan, the conflict region of Afghanistan bordering Pakistan. Because South Asia mein, Pakistan is the most important distraction for any economic development. Okay. Plus, Even China also is a very important basis of distraction. Okay, so this is the geography. So एक sentence लिखेंगे आप, the Chabahar port is a very important way of countering the locational disadvantage of India, countering the locational disadvantage of India because of its shared borders with Pakistan and China. Chabahar port is a very important, okay, alternative to bypass the locational disadvantage of India, as it borders India and borders Pakistan and China. We can bypass that, okay, and integrate with the Middle East and Central Asia, and integrate with Middle East and Central Asia. बन रहा है points, please? हाँ, इतना कर लो, then you can talk about Chabahar can become a growth pole, a growth center, and whatever next you want to write down. ठीक है, so I repeat, Chabahar port का क्या advantage है? I repeat, one is Chabahar port is like a gateway for the landlocked region of Central Asia. Like it helps Afghanistan, Central Asia to access Indian Ocean. It's like a gateway for that. One. Okay. Number two, the complementarity is established through Chabahar port. Okay. Chabahar port also gives the basis of, okay, the cultural and ethnic integration. Okay. The fourth one, it bypasses the locational disadvantage of India bordering Pakistan and China. उसके बाद क्या देना? The Chabahar port has, because of its trade center, because of its ports, it now becomes a break of bulk center. It becomes a growth pole. Okay, European connection वहां से, फिर तो आप always add कर सकते हो how India, Iran, Central Asia can also become a counter to OBOR. ऐसे अगर आपने चार पांच के डिस्कशन कर लिया ना, आपका दिमाग फिर खुलना शुरू हो जाएगा. That's why I gave the concept first. कि what is required in regional development. We need that homogeneity, we need gateways, we need complementarity. और ये भी ऐड कर सकते हो that Chabahar port, because of investments of India, Iran, there can be collaboration in India, okay, by Iran, okay, by India, of Iran in India. You can talk about that. हो गया ये? और देखो यही वाला कंसेप्ट आप हर जगह डाल सकते हो. उसके बाद जो डालना. To bring a bit more of geography, you can also add that this reaffirms the significance of Indian Ocean, okay, and its growing importance. It reaffirms the significance of India and Iran as a part of the rimland country. The rimland angle le aana, it reaffirms that idea. 6A is done. It reaffirms, okay, Chabahar port reaffirms the significance of Indian Ocean, and the importance of India, Iran in the rimland concept. Yes, please do. जब rimland कह रहे हो तो Spikeman का नाम लेना, definitely, why not? As Spikeman had suggested. Okay, let's move on now. Next question, 7A. Now I've realized one thing. अब मैं अगले बैच से change करूंगा. When I'm discussing all the answers in 2 classes, I mean, this is 28 questions. एक class में 14 questions में I've realized that somewhere I end up diluting some important concepts. So next test onwards, what I will do is I will not discuss the straight questions anymore. I would rather give more importance to some of the tricky questions. Yes, I think that's a mistake I've been doing the last 4-5 tests. Okay, so itna fast pace mein, and I realize that some of you also probably are found lost. Okay, so I'll take up important ones and discuss rest. I'll say कि आपके पास answers हैं, straight हैं, आप देख लेना. Okay, 7A. 7A. Lack of regionness in South Asia is the basis of conflict. अच्छा, इसमें एक mistake हो गया है. It should have been the base of conflict and disconnectivity. Yes, Himanshu, I will do that. One of you pointed out that to me. Okay. In the test series of the last batch, I had discussed this. Lack of regionness in South Asia is the basis of conflicts and disconnectivity in the subcontinent. In the subcontinent. Anybody knows ये sentence मैंने कहाँ से उठाया है? Anybody knows ये sentence क्यों आया? And back then I had taught. Yes, correct. Okay, our External Affairs Minister, okay, Jaishankar had said this. Okay, he said this, that lack of regionness in South Asia is the basis of conflicts and disconnectivity in the subcontinent. It's a very powerful statement, okay? It's a very, very powerful statement, means many things. Okay, now, see, again you come back there, that for development in terms of regionness, अगर एक region को develop करना है, okay, this is what we require. We require यही 4-5 point हैं. We require complementarity. We require, okay, some kind of trade happening. Trade happens only when there is complementarity. It requires infrastructure, road connectivity as a part of, again, complementarity. Okay. For a regional development, there should be some kind of internal cohesion. It should be held together. झगड़ा करते रहेंगे, you can never combine yourself together. There should be a sense of internal cohesion. The internal cohesion comes from language, it comes from religion, it comes from shared history, it comes from shared geography. Okay. Third, this regionness also comes from shared political systems and shared political ideals. The concept of regionness hai, okay, that one area is like one region and they collaborate and they complement one another, they develop the whole area as one. It's possible when, okay, there is some kind of complementarity, there is some kind of, okay, infrastructure common development for trade and linkages. It happens when there is a kind of an internal cohesion, okay, where there is shared history, there is shared culture, maybe shared religion, maybe shared language. It also comes from shared political system and political ideals. Shared political systems and shared political ideals. Okay, and regionness also comes when the threats are common. Okay, when threat perceptions are common. एक के पास में एक threat है, एक और के पास में कुछ और threat है. There's two people. If both of them are scared of a tiger, it's possible they can gang up together to fight a tiger. But one guy is fighting tiger, the other guy is fighting elephant. They cannot gang up together. Okay, ये कुछ basis हैं how things remain together as a part of one, okay, organic unity or whatever. Now, what this question is asking is that lack of regionness in South Asia is the basis of conflicts and disconnectivity in the subcontinent. Comment पूछा है, but you actually have to agree with this. Yes, ये सही है. Okay, and then you have to explain this. So do mention this idea. And देखो, honestly speaking, I do not see कि यही question पूछेगा. Is a part of political job. ठीक है, यही पूछेगा, not necessarily, but this you can use in discussing any of the conflicts of South Asia today. The conflict वाला तो पक्का पूछने वाला है. Something around conflicts, border management, India, China, India, Pakistan, कुछ ना कुछ तो पक्का पूछेगा. They'll ask about the conflicts across Europe or whatever. So use this idea, how regionness, lack of regionness can be basis of conflicts. Lack of identity of a region can be basis of conflicts. ठीक है? So how do you start? You mentioned that this statement or this concept was given by our External Affairs Minister, Shri Jay Shankar, okay, and explain what that sentence means. The sentence basically means that there's lack of a common identity, there's a lack of a common cohesiveness of the region, because of which there are conflicts and there is lack of connectivity in the subcontinent. बस दो लाइन में खत्म कर देना. Then you can have a schematic that tells why this type of disconnectivity or lack of regionness happens. Okay, you can always talk about our history, partition, type of boundaries that we have. I can talk about there are cultural conflicts, there are regional communal conflicts. Okay, so 4-5 points may tell us how this regionness has been compromised. And this diagram, now you will start explaining. You start the answer by saying that South Asia, yes, that South Asia actually has, okay, South Asia actually has geographical continuity. If you look at geographical elements of climate, geographical elements of physiography, the Indian subcontinent is bounded by the mountains in the north. So there is a geographical continuity, there is a geographical, in terms of natural elements, the region has a type of internal cohesiveness. However, it is the historical, it is the cultural, okay, and ethnic disconnect responsible for lack of regionness. Start with that. हमारा common monsoons है, हमारा common fertile soil, rivers के same origin है, the same type of geological history है, the same type of agriculture advantage है, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, ये commonalities हैं. Okay, geological similarity of northern plains है, peninsular plateau and Sri Lanka hai. Okay, start the answer with that. That geographically, in terms of natural elements, there is an element of integration. But problems kahan aati hain? The problems are related to the cultural, ethnic, and the political history where our regionness has been compromised. You can start with, our historical problem. हमारे जो borders हैं, the borders are not based on the natural elements. Our borders are what? They have been superimposed borders. They are subsequent borders. Okay, they are cutting across cultural elements. ये geography आ गया आपका. Superimposed borders. Okay, they are not antecedent borders. They are subsequent borders. Talk about that. That's one reason where the regionness has been compromised. Number two, regionness also compromised because of okay, our cultural dissimilarities, particularly related to language and related to religion. इसमें major problem हुआ है. Okay, religion, India and Pakistan. Okay, language issues, Indo-Tibetan languages of Northeast and the rest of India. The Mongoloid races, okay, vis-a-vis Indian races, इसमें भी disconnect हुआ है. Okay, that is one angle of lack of regionness. So border issues हैं, religion issues हैं, ethnic racial problems हैं. Now fourth reason, lack of regionness is also because, okay, that our products, our economic systems are not complementarity. Our economic systems are based on internal competition. They're based on internal competition. Okay, so we have the same type of products. All are textile producing areas. All of them are agricultural producing areas. All of them are struggling with the same type of primary activities, the same type of monsoon advantage or labor advantage. सब में है. That also results in lack of regionness. Okay, there is no complementarity of activities here. ठीक है? And then the fifth one I said that we have problems of global issues. They say we are fighting different enemies. Okay, while Pakistan is fighting the West, China is the ally, India is fighting China, and West may be the ally. हमारे common enemies नहीं है. We do not have common threats. Our perceptions of security is different. Like India and Nepal, the same problem. Okay, lack of regionness. Why? Because Nepal, as a landlocked country, has always blamed India for its lack of access to the Indian Ocean. This again compromises the lack of single regionness between India and Nepal. Okay, so आप अगर discuss करेंगे, the problem is not so much in terms of location. The problem is more in terms of our economic system and our cultural and historical, okay, say challenges. Threats, हमारे common enemies नहीं हैं. Okay, in India's threat is China. West probably is an ally. Pakistan mein, the West is the threat. US has now become the threat. It has been changing, okay, and China has become the ally. The common threats and common allies nahi hai. Okay, that's a problem of the global interference. That's why we lack the sense of regionness. Okay, and end the answer in saying that lack of regionness has also been compromised because of the general lack of development and poverty. So we are competing for the very basic resources. We're competing for the same water. We're competing for the same access to Indian Ocean. So in general poverty, lack of development, lack of our history, all of that compromises any type of positive steps. ठीक है? So I use geography in 4 areas. Talking about the geographical continuity yet conflicts. I talked about the type of borders and conflicts. We talk about the locational disadvantage vis-a-vis our neighbors and the conflicts. Okay, and of course the resources. Cricket as a uniting factor. I don't know, some people will see cricket as the conflict factor. Okay, so it all depends on how you see cricket as. Many people see cricket as a conflicting factor. हम तो nuclear war छेड़ दें if we have. ठीक है? Okay. So I think we are done with question number 7A. Question number 7A. Okay, so इसमें भी mistake है. We wrote the question wrongly here also. Lack of regionness in South Asia is the basis of conflicts, and यहाँ पर होगा disconnectivity in the subcontinent. Okay, so introduction is Indian subcontinent has an element of geographical and natural continuity because of its shared monsoon, geological history, Himalayas, northern plains, and so on. However, the political history and the cultural diversity, along with exploitative colonial legacy, have led the region with a sense of political discontinuity. एक बॉक्स बना दिया क्या क्या lack of regionness के reason है, partition है, cultural conflicts हैं, global powers हैं, communal conflicts हैं, border disputes हैं, lack of intra-regional trade. This is where we say lack of complementarity है. And then you have taken up one by one to discuss it. Although we should not have gone to as far as Vietnam and China, but India, Pakistan तो बता ही सकते हैं, where we have got superimposed boundaries in South Asia, it becomes a basis of conflicts. So communal and cultural reasons, the way we discussed, you can bring that in. Okay, geopolitics, okay, rimland idea add किया, India and China add कर सकते हो. Okay, lack of economic integration, यहाँ पर add करना the problem of lack of complementarity. All of us are agro-based, all of us closed economy. Okay, India, Bangladesh, we all are competing, not collaborating. Okay, and finally, we have the same fight in terms of the resources, lack of infrastructure, resources. So we are not even able to build infrastructure because of that. Okay, and this is an additional point. The India's size is also an issue. India's size is also an issue. Okay, how there's disproportionately high inequality between India and the rest. Okay, this is also part of the reason why we lack regionness, and of course the growing footprint of China. ठीक है, थोड़ा लंबा है, but you can always keep it short. But more or less, this is the content you have to write on. Try to put at least one diagram in a page. ऐसा कोई rule नहीं है, but then we have told this to you already. That use a diagram only when you are able to draw a proper, you can draw a proper relevant diagram. Yes, but just keep it as religion, that's all. Yes, Rakesh, do talk about it. It's a very big factor, but religion, of course, has now become the obvious factor. Roots तो कहीं और हैं, cultural issues हैं, colonial legacy हैं. So we are done with 7A. Now come towards 7B. Discuss the relevance of stop and go determinism in the present context. I'm moving on, please. Discuss stop and go determinism in the present day context. So can you give me 4 or 5 areas where stop and go determinism matters? You can start with the idea of what stop and go determinism is in the present day context. Okay, anybody? Stop and go determinism का मतलब क्या है? Basically, it's about that you have to know the boundaries and not cross the boundaries of your environmental limits. It is wise to play to the nature's design. It's wise to acknowledge the limits enforced by the nature and exercise options within that. That's why it's called as the pragmatic determinism, right? Yes, yes. And you know the idea was given by Griffith Taylor in 1940s, and you can go on there. ठीक है? Now, इसका relevance कहाँ है? So 3-4 areas में. One is talk in the relevance in the context of agricultural productivity. Yes, accommodation. Okay, so you'll have to be specific. Relevance पूछा है ना? Be specific. Talk in the context of agricultural productivity improvement. Okay, do not increase productivity to a point where the entire economic system can collapse. The entire agriculture can collapse. Talk about conservation agriculture, mulching, local resources, biodiversity, sustainability from pests. Okay, so agriculture is one area where we need to have stop and go determinism. Anybody else? What else? Yes, resource exploitation, fossil fuel की बात करो. The limit to how much of fossil fuel you can burn. Okay, fossil fuel you can extract, climate change, you can talk about global warming, pollution, smogs, and the rest. It's always nice to have energy efficient systems and not energy intensive systems. Absolutely. Third area, you can, yes, urbanization. Okay, a new urbanization model which takes care of the natural landscape, groundwater. Yes, new urbanism, water extraction, water usage. Yes, absolutely. So ऐसे 4-5 livable cities. Yes, walkable cities to be more precise. Talk about that. Walkable cities. You can talk about that. Okay. You can always talk about sustainable development itself and the answer towards sustainable development and limits to growth. Okay. Sustainable development and limits to growth. Technology cannot be the solution to all our problems. That is what is telling us. Technology, anti-Fordism कहाँ से लेके आओगे? Okay, anti-Fordism is also not a great idea. Okay, capitalism, the way it has grown is anti-Fordism. Does not mean it is a great idea and a very successful concept. Okay, anti-Fordism means the agencies have changed, the methods have changed. Globalization is actually anti-Fordism. Does not mean it's a great successful model. Okay, so and the answer towards technocentric approach was yes, absolutely ecocentric rakho. So if you want to see the answer here, so Again, this is a bit long. It should not have been in 3 pages. Okay, 1, 2, and almost 3 pages ho gaya. It's a bit too long. It should have been a bit more tight. But ठीक है, you have a sense of at least how it's organized. The introduction was too powerful. It was too lengthy. It should have been very, very short. और अभी आधा ही होना चाहिए था. The concept of stop and go determinism of Griffith Taylor, 40s में, well-endowed part, the world which offer good living to man, 9/10. इतना डिटेल जरूरत नहीं है. Just write down the crux. Talks about living within the nature's limit. It's about living within the means of sustainability. Like a man can control but cannot wish away the traffic. Okay, one schematic would have done. Relevance, like agricultural relevance. Let us not use too high productivity. Green revolution has been the bane. Development activities, okay, talking about river linking projects at a national level, okay, mining projects, landslide floods, okay. This is the limit of our activities. Fossil fuel burning, the way we're increasing fossil fuel, this again is unsustainable in terms of our usage. Okay, and then conclusion was a bit too long. This could have been a bit more tighter. Sustainable development, SDGs, environment assessment. Okay, ये पूरे को ना आप एक डायग्राम में खत्म करके 2 लाइन ऐड करते. Okay, that therefore stop and go determinism, okay, is about whatever you want to talk about in terms of new environmentalism. COVID, देखो, you could have bought COVID only when COVID problem was a Malthusian problem. COVID का तो कुछ और ही issue है ना. Okay, yes, it spread because of crowding, वो अलग बात है. But COVID is not so much of an environmental problem. No? That's why वो debate है. It's not about resource shortages. So don't force COVID. It does not look very relevant immediately. Okay. Yes, conflict say globalization say yes. You can talk about globalization definitely. I mean, it's a debate. COVID कहाँ से आया, क्यों आया, वो अभी भी debated है. चाइना ने एक लॉ एक पास कर लिया ना. Okay, एक research that COVID probably came from India. Are you aware of this? कि नहीं? According to China, COVID is of Indian origin. Yes. तो अभी तो debate is still open. ठीक है. Wuhan is in India. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. If it is of Indian origin, then Wuhan is India's part. Okay, then it's okay. ठीक है. Okay, okay. I think we deserve one another, basically. Okay, come to 7C. Analyze the please come back now. Okay, Wuhanistan. Okay, now come back 7C. May analyze the contemporary reasons for the change in patterns of the world trade. What are the contemporary reasons in the pattern of change in the pattern of world trade? Okay, why has the pattern changed? So I think there should be a question around this. ये जो 2-3 questions हैं, there can be a question around this in some modified way. Okay, so make sure that you have not ignored this. Okay, now you start the answer. Take it down like an answer, more or less. Okay, you start the answer by saying that global economic system has changed rapidly. Please keep writing as I speak. Okay, global economic system has changed very rapidly in the last 40-50 years. One of the biggest change in economic system has been in recent times has been globalization. The rise of Asia, the rise of the new economies or the emerging economies of Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, ये change हुआ है. And then you can move on towards, yes, the new industrialized emerging economies. And you can also mention that the change has been consistent since the end of the World War. Okay, end of the World War के बाद क्या हुआ? Okay, that the Fordist model of production, the Fordist model of manufacturing, which was based on mass manufacturing and labor advantages, okay, about cheap products, that system has gradually changed. Okay, post globalization, we have come towards the new Fordist model. Okay, so this could be an introduction. There has been a lot of change in recent times. Emergence of new economic centers hai, emergence of emerging economies hai, and this change has been consistent. Okay, post war, post Fordism, okay, Fordism के कुछ features हैं. Okay, Fordism का मतलब है mass manufacturing, mass consumption. Fordism का मतलब है cheap goods. Okay, Fordism means labor unions. Fordism also means relatively lesser role of the governments. Okay, Fordism also means, yes, Taylorism, where the productivity is improved by repeatedly doing the small. You break up the activity into small type of activities. So all that is Fordism. But in post-Fordism, we have uh, digital economy, nanotechnology, biotechnology, robotics, electronics, talking about MNCs. So ये say in one or two paragraph with the diagram में बता देना. Economic systems have changed. Next, we'll write down कि what are the elements of change in the patterns of global trade. What are the elements of change in the pattern of the world trade? The elements of change में चार चीज लिखा जाता है. One is the players have changed. Players have changed में two players have become relatively less important. Like Russia has become less important. Russia has become less important. The poorest countries who were once the suppliers of labor, even their role has dramatically reduced. So Africa का role बहुत कम हो गया है. Africa was very important if you go back to the times of slave trade. Like Africa and cheap labor was very important if you go back to even the times of Fordism. Okay, we need require cheap labor to work. So these type of areas importance have declined. Okay, so has the importance of Russia declined. Okay, the players have changed. Or players have changed. May there have been three new players. Three new players. May China is a new player. Last 20 years. May okay. Southeast Asia has been a new player, and third is South Asia. South Asia में India. You can always add even outlier ones like the semi-periphery ones like Brazil and South Africa. को भी add कर देना. This is the first component of world trade में change. The players have changed. The traditional two have declined, and we have got three new important players. Okay, and it looks like even Europe is declining. ट्रेड में इवन यूरोप इज डिक्लाइन. हालांकि अभी भी यूरोप का अच्छा खासा शेयर है, but Europe is also declining. Okay, that's one. Second component of change is the type of goods traded has changed. The type of goods traded has changed. Goods bolo, services bolo, it has changed. The trade is not so much okay about agriculture. It is not dominated by agriculture so much. The trade is more around capital trade, like investments and the rest financial. The trade may very important is high-end consumer products have increased, electronics have increased, computers have increased. Okay, what has increased is is services, yes, invisible services, software. Okay, those type of components of the world trade has changed. और recent time में the fossil fuel का भी trade change हो रहा है. And the third important element of change is the trade routes have changed. Of course, this is the consequence of the first two. The components have changed, the products and the basket of goods have changed, and third, the routes have changed. Okay, what are the routes? So North Atlantic route से अब आपका Indian Ocean is becoming very very important. It has been important. अब एक और element add हो रहा है with OBOR and RCEP. Even the land routes will become important. Okay, railways, Chinese railways going towards Europe, going towards Spain. Okay, so those type of things are increasing. ठीक है, the routes and Pacific route, yes, this will change. Okay, and fourth thing you can add is, yes, the region importance of regional groupings has increased. Okay, the importance of regional groupings, जो trade blocks हैं, the trade blocks, dominant trade blocks, NAFTA continues to be very, very important. ASEAN is very, very important. EU continues to be important. OPEC, okay, it is declining slowly. Okay, and the trade within these trade blocks is much, much higher. The trade within these trade blocks are much, yes, Mercosur also, yes. South America ka Mercosur. RCP is just starting off, Lavanche. It's too early to say it has become a dominant one. I think keep it to NAFTA, EU, talk about ASEAN, Mercosur. इतना कहो, एंड प्लीज यहीं पर मैप बना देना, नाफ्ता दिखा देना, ओके, नॉर्थ अमेरिका, यूएस एंड मेक्सिको दिखा देना, ओके, मर्क्यूसोर, पराग्वे, यूरुग्वे, ओके, ब्राजील दिखा देना आप लोग प्लीज. ASEAN, Southeast Asia, you can have a dotted line to show that. ठीक है? Yes. So these are the four elements of how the global trade has changed. Next, ये सब खत्म कर देना in the first page, less than first page, finish off. Now, what are the reasons why this has changed? क्या reasons हैं? The question is, discuss, analyze the contemporary reasons for change in the world trade. Okay, the reasons, number one is that advantage of technology was a very important reason. Technology, digital technology. You talk about internet. Okay, this was the basis of rise of China and rise of India. Very important. And because of better communication, okay, the labor arbitrage advantage shifted towards Southeast Asia and South Asia. Labor arbitrage. I hope you know what I mean by labor arbitrage. Okay, the advantage of cheaper labor. Labor arbitrage has been very, very important. Yes, outsourcing ho gaya aapka. That's one of the reasons why the global trade has changed. The third important, yes, the third important, okay, is the demographic reason. Yes, younger population that we have in the parts of Asia, the education levels that we have in parts of Asia. That's also responsible for why the shift towards, okay, East has happened. We say the economic center of gravity has shifted towards Asia. Okay, so technology is one, the labor arbitrage is one, the third is the demographic, okay, structure and the composition is one. The fourth is the European and the North American consumption pattern has changed, partly related to their stagnating economic levels. Their consumption patterns have changed, okay, in terms of the market. Okay. Now, because of size of population, lot of market also is in South Asia, lot of market is also in Southeast Asia. The reason why a lot of manufacturers are trying to, okay, you use Indian market, the Chinese market, and the rest. Okay, that has changed. The fourth reason, you can always talk about the political developments. So a lot of shift of the world trade is related to the political change since the 1980s and 1990s. Okay, political change, decline of USSR, communism, the economic reforms associated with democracy, the political reforms, economic reforms associated with democracy. Free market bana diya aapne. Like you talked about less restrictions, the rise of WTO. Yes, now I was coming to that. So what has happened? What has happened is that in this trade change, this is geographical concept. The core periphery elements have now changed. Okay, the elements now see in trade economy में बहुत important concept है core and periphery. In fact, this core There is semi-periphery and there is periphery. Core are those central economic regions. Today's core we have US. Today's core includes Japan, it includes EU, it also includes China. 4 countries are part of the core. Okay, the semi-periphery we have countries like India, we have Brazil, we have South Africa, Nigeria. They are called as semi-periphery. Even to some extent, the Eastern European countries are semi-periphery. Ekdam periphery, who are not a part of the economic system, are Africa. The Africa, parts of Central Asia. Okay, पहले क्या था? India was part of periphery. For long time, okay, countries like South Asia, Bangladesh were part of periphery. Now that these have become semi-periphery, as in there is some amount of economic trade with them. So the change in the pattern of the world trade, the ASEAN is semi-periphery, yes. ASEAN is not the core yet. China is the core. But China का semi-periphery is ASEAN. ठीक है? Yes, absolutely. ठीक है? So change in the world pattern of trade is also partly because of change in the core periphery. And our conclusion is that despite changes in the pattern of the world trade, the exploitative system of the world economy continues to be exploitative. ये अलग बात है, players change हो रहे हैं. This is our conclusion here, that the exploitative element of the world economy continues to persist. Okay, the system is still unjust, the system is still exploitative. Okay, agriculture continues to be ignored, WTO continues to be partisan. Okay, and the answer on those lines. Okay, so that takes care of 7. I hope this much of input is good enough for an answer. आपका jottings मेरे ख्याल से 1 पेज तो हो ही जाएगा आपका. उसमें अगर आप explain कर लोगे तो आपका 2 पेज हो जाएगा. I think you guys practice these answers well. यही 200 आंसर ढंग से कर देना. Believe me, you will have a pretty good edge over the others. यही concepts को वही terms use करके बनाना आप. Next question, 8A. In the post-war period, geography preeminently became human geography. Explain. In the post-war period, geography preeminently became human geography. Explain. Do you know what this question is asking? I said something about postmodernism also yesterday. But ये क्या पूछ रहा है? Okay, that during the Second World, what is it about? Anybody? Yes, yes. So when we say, when we say post-war period, so during the interwar period, kya tha? What was geography in the interwar period? Interwar period was about quantitative revolution. Perfect. Mathematical modeling, statistical analysis. You have got a lot of those systems approach, like a lot of social your theories using the principles of physics. Okay, so you're talking about that. You're talking about that type of approach. उसमें क्या था? Normative theories थे, rational economic man था. We're ignoring man as a mechanical model, so man was ignored. Then we say post-war का 2 element है. Like one is the behavioral revolution, and the second is the social relevance revolution. And all of this together is also part of the critical backlash. So behavioral revolution brings back man, talks about perception, talks about human-centric approach. उसका एक extreme form था humanistic geography. And in the social relevance revolution, he talked about human problems, applied approach, poverty, unemployment, racism, conflicts, inequalities. Man is back in the focus. Yes, yes. When we say behavioral revolution, it includes humanistic. When you say behavioral revolution, it means both behavioral geography and also humanistic geography. It includes both. Yeah. So you end the answer by saying that this man-centric approach, the man-centric approach, उसका जो peak रहा है is in the concept of geosophy. देखो, you also tell the examiner you know a lot of new concepts, okay? So flaunt what you have. There's a common adage. अगर आपको पता है तो बताओ. And the answer by saying that post-war, the human-centric approach का epitome है. The peak is the concept of geosophy. The peak is postmodernism, where we are now rejecting all types of meta-narratives. The peak is now we are no longer talking about generalizations, bring back culture, and in the concept of the sense of place, in the concept of new regional geography. So your answer is divided into three parts. The first part may tell us interwar period में how geography was dehumanized because of normative theories and because of the rational economic man concept. ये पहले बता दो. फिर बताओ post war में what was done. Post war includes the behavioral revolution, and post war also includes the social say relevance revolution. And we talk about perceptions, we talk about human thinking, cognition, we're talking about inequalities, poverty, racism, gender rights, unemployment, conflicts की बात कर रहे हैं. So geography is now more human-centric. And the third part is that this human-centric approach continues now. It continues in the form of the postmodernism. It continues in the form of, okay, your desecularization, new geography, geosophy, and so on. Yes, very, very high anthropocentrism. Yes, very high anthropocentrism. I left one question in the last one. 6B छूट गया मुझसे. Geography is simultaneously both regional as well as systematic. Open up your human geography textbook, please. Okay, open up this page number 27. Dichotomy and dualism in geography, systematic geography and regional geography. I think this could be a question, that geography is both. तो आपको बताना होगा how geography is systematic. What is systematic geography? Systematic geography is thematic geography. It is topical geography. It talks about one aspect, okay, and believes in making laws and patterns. It believes in generalization and systematic approach. And geography has this systematic approach is a very important approach in physical geography. We're studying mountains, geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, soils, vegetation. That is systematic approach. So physical geography में we have had systematic approach. Systematic approach is also in okay, thematic studies like population geography. Yes. Okay. So talk about that. Geography में systematic approach है. Tell us how. Then you will say the geography में regional approach भी है. We do study the regional geography of India, of Africa, of Asia, of China. Okay, we study how all the elements of the region combine together, the physical, the natural, the man-made, okay, the trade, commerce combine together to give the region its identity. So it's like, what is systematic geography? Examples of systematic geography. Number two, what is regional geography? Examples of regional geography. And finally saying the geography therefore is a multi-dimensional subject. पेज नंबर 28 देखो, ये 2-3 पेज पढ़ लेना प्लीज. पेज 27 में dualism dichotomy में systematic geography and regional geography. Read this till the end of this section in page number 29. Okay, एकदम ऐसे ही दिया है और यही डायग्राम कॉपी कर लेना प्लीज. पेज 28 में डायग्राम है, copy this diagram directly. Yes, you can mention Lakshay. Okay, Schoffer is systematic, Schoffer is the QR, Hartshorne is regional. Yes, you can do that. Okay, and draw this diagram and look at page 29 में last 2 paragraphs देखो. Okay, or look at the second paragraph का last line देखो. In brief, systematic geography is analytical and regional is synthetic. Geography is multi-dimensional subject. with varied approaches of study. Geography is multivariate, not only in combination of actual sciences, but also in mathematics and the rest. And the next paragraph says, okay, more stress on regional geography is also not correct because no two places have, no two groups are exactly same. In this opinion, Berry says systematic and regional geography are not two different approaches, but are two extremes of a continuum. Therefore, the dichotomy of systematic and regional approach do not oppose each other, but final analysis they support one another. इसी theme पे आप please complete कर देना. Diagram. This is the diagram. It's not clear, not focusing on the screen. अब focus हो गया. ठीक है, all of you. This one. And what I was reading is this one. According to Berry, systematic and regional approaches are like extremes of a continuum. Page number 28 and 29. So that takes care of this paper. बाकी आप देख ही लेंगे. Okay. So we are on time without too much of stress. फिर भी हमने डिस्कस कितना क्वेश्चन, आई थिंक 7-8 क्वेश्चन डिस्कस कर लिया हमने. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 और 8 क्वेश्चंस we have discussed. Bye bye. Thank you for